Welcome to our October Crafting and Christ Kit Club tutorial. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing our cutting board project. So what I have here is I've got the cutting board, I've got my napkins, I've got my ribbon, and then some other things that I have grabbed for today's project is I do have my Cricut iron press. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and then I'm going to be using the Waverly clear wax today. And we're going to be using this to do a little bit different of like a chippy or crackle technique. So we're going to need the wax, and I just get this at Walmart. We're also going to need the Waverly white chalk paint. I've got my water, I've got my brushes, I've got my Mod Podge, I've got scissors, I've got some fun little alligator scissors that I'll be using to do the napkin edging. I've got regular scissors, and I think that's about it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start by prepping our cutting board. I used to call it our chippy board. We're gonna do our cutting board first. So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. If you like the color that the wood is now, then you don't need to put another color underneath. Because what's going to happen is when we do the technique, the other thing that you're going to need, since we're doing the iron-on method, you are going to need parchment paper, and then for this crackle technique, you will need some tape. So I'm using regular box tape. So I am going to come in, I'm debating if I want to do 2 tones or 1 tone. There's going to be a few layers in this today. So depending on how you want it, whatever color your board is the color that's going to come through after we do this technique. So if you like this color, then we can go on the wax with just this color, and then we'll go on the white, and then when we pull off the wax, this is the color that's going to come up behind it. So I'll give you an example. It's going to look like this. This is the color you're going to see behind it. So we can also come in with some other colors. I have a red. Maybe we want to do a red and a white. Although the red may clash with the bow if it doesn't match exactly, so maybe not red. I'm basically debating between the celery green. I think I might try the celery green. I'm going to do green and then the wax and then the white, because I did it the other way before just to see how it would work. And I'm going to try this way and see if I like it. Ooh, this one has not been used in a minute. I got to shake it some more. I'm going to see if we can get multiple colors coming up here. Now, the only bummer is my brushes, the bigger brushes that I had to use for the wax, are still in here. So I'm going to get them drying while we're doing this. I went through with the white, and then I thought, let's just try one more way and see which we like better. All right, I just want to have the bigger paintbrushes because we've got such a large surface. All right, so the first thing I'm going to come in here do is I'm going to come in here and just give it one light coat of the green. Now again, you don't want these super thick because 1, we're going to have to dry all this, and 2, we don't want a bunch of issues when we're coming back with the wax and taking colors off. So I'm just doing one quick, probably single coat. We'll see. We'll see how much this covers the yellow tone. Now you could come in here with a black. I thought about doing black. I thought black might be just a little too dark though. Try to keep it Christmassy. Granted, this isn't the most Christmassy green, but you know, it's a little Christmassy. It's Farmhouse Christmassy, right? All right, we're gonna hit it with some heat. Now, if we really want the grain to come through, I do think we're going to need a second coat. So I'm going to go ahead and take the off here so that you can get a better view of the project. Okay, we're mostly dry here, but I'm going to come through and I am going to hit it with another, just a quick light coat. And it's really so I can really get the green. The board underneath does have like a yellow, I don't know what, tint or hue, I should say. And so if we really want the green to come through when we do the next two steps, I think I'm going to have it a little thicker. So again, these don't need to be perfect. This is just a base coat that we're using. That will be the bottom color, hopefully. Again, I've not done three layers like this. The first one, I just used the board as the base coat. This is one of the reasons I love the chalk paint so much, because it just covers so well. Like, I swear it sticks to almost anything. I guess I'll just say I have yet to find something it doesn't stick to. Because this cutting board does have, like, it's coated with something. Probably because it's supposed to be used for food, but okay, so we're going to go ahead. I think that's a strong enough coat there. Again, this is just the celery green from Waverly, just like a light green. And then when I did that, I got some little fuzzy or something came off of it. All right, try and get that off there. All right, let's hit it with the heat again. And you're going to want this really dry before we move into the next step. Because that next step is going to be our wax. And we don't want any of the paint mixing with our wax. Almost there. A few little spots here at the bottom. If you don't have one of these heat guns, I do love it, especially if you're impatient like me. It just helps spread the process along really well. Okay, so this is our Waverly Wax in clear. And what we're going to do with this is we're just going to take a light, we just want a light, woo, caught my snowflake there. We just want a light coat all the way across the whole thing. So we're just going to come in here, make sure you get the edges, but we just want one thin coat over the whole project. Now, from when I did this to before, you really do want thin, because otherwise it does take a little bit to dry. So you don't want anywhere you have blobs, go ahead and brush them out. And just a thin coat all the way around it, and then we're going to hit this with the dryer again. So just make sure you got all of your edges. Thin out any areas that are blobbed, because those will take longer to dry. All right, I think we have a good coat there. And now we're gonna go ahead and let this dry. So we're gonna use the heat gun again. Now the wax is a little bit on the sticky side, so make sure you have a well ventilated area. It does have a little odor to it. Now this isn't gonna, because it's a wax, it's not gonna dry to like a dry. We're just getting it so that we don't see any shiny spots anymore where it's like layered up. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna hit it with the, white. I'm gonna grab a little spot here at the top where I got a little crazy with the paint there, and it's going everywhere. All right, I just had a blob in the little hole up there. All right, again, so this isn't going to be like dry really to the touch. It's going to be like a waxy feel. But just make sure that any of the areas that look a little thick are dry. Oh, okay, don't touch it. All right, so what I'm gonna do, because I just touched that, and did you see it just popped right up? So that tells me that that spot was not ready yet to come up, and I just pulled all the wax off of it. So when I do the next step, I'm gonna have an issue. However, that is gonna be behind our design, so you're not gonna see that spot, but good to know, be careful, don't touch it. When I was doing it before, it did not do that. So I'm learning with this method too. I saw another creator use it, and I thought, how cool is that? But if you do that and you take some of it off, then that's just dab it back on there. We'll fix it. Okay, I feel like that's pretty dry. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here with our white. And the paintbrush that I want to use is in the cleaner here. All right. So I'm gonna come in with the Waverly white next. And this is gonna be the top coat. So when we're putting on the paint, you are not going to want to, you're going to want to put on the paint like a pretty decently wet brush. You're not going to want it dry brushing around. So be a little bit generous with the paint, and you may see as you start doing it, you may start to see a little bit of crackle where it's separating from itself over the wax. That's fine. That's just going to get more pronounced when we do the next step. So again, be a little bit generous with the paint on your brush for this step. Otherwise, it's going to lift that wax up. So super light strokes. We're not working this in. We're basically going over the wax. Just like a coat over the wax. And this doesn't need to look perfect because we're actually going to rip this right back off with the tape in the next step. So we're just kind of giving it a little bit, again, layering those colors. I got my brush a little too dry there. Don't work it too much. I just kind of worked it a little bit there. I shouldn't have. Really, you don't want to work it at all, because otherwise it's going to disturb that wax again. All right, so I'm going to come back now and I'm going to hit it with the heat gun again. And I did grab my Dixie Belle Best Dang Wax in brown. I used this to antique a little bit of the first one I did it, where I only did the two colors, so just the wax and the white. This one will have the green, then the wax, then the white. So we'll see what it looks like, and I don't know if I'm going to want to antique it or not. We'll just see. Because I have not done this one before, so I'm not sure how it's going to peel off, but we'll see. We will find out together. So basically you want this all dry, because if it's not dry, then our tape is not going to stick to it. So make sure there's no shiny parts. You'll see a little bit of a crackle effect, probably from the paint separating it from itself on the wax. But what we're going to be looking for is a little bit more pronounced. Well, it's a lot more pronounced. Okay, so I'm almost done here. I just want to make sure I get all the little pink bubble blobs. So now we're going to come in with our tape, and you're just going to take a section of tape and you're just going to lay it down. Go ahead and just lightly press it in, and then we're going to come back and take it off. So this is what's going to give us that little bit of chippy look. So how much you take off. Now I didn't let this dry very long. If you want more paint to stay, I would suggest letting it dry longer than I did, if you don't want quite as much coming off. Now I will show you the other one I did here in a minute. After I got the layers. So just barely push it down if you want more of the top layer to stay on. Because however hard you push it down is going to be however much of the paint comes off. My gosh, so cute. All right, I'm just gonna work the top up here. You can see that one little section stuck, so I'm just going to come back over that little section, and I'm not going to fuss with it too much. So see, you can just take as much or as little as you want off, and if you don't want to do strips, you could come back through just like I did and just take little sections off too. That's an option as well. Okay, so here, this is what the one looks like where we did the green base coat, then we did the wax, then we did the white. Now, if you don't do a base coat on it and you just do the board and then you do the white, this is kind of what it's going to look like. So if you like this tone, you could go with this one. If you like the different look, put a base coat. Then you're going to put your wax, and then you're going to put your top coat and add it on there. So we're going to actually be decoupaging it to the burlap. And this actually has, so this is a square and then our burlap is a square. Let me see what, I've got these crocodile scissors. I have never tried to use them on a napkin before. Let me see if this is going to work. Now, I know it's not going to be perfect crocodile teeth. That's okay. I'm basically trying to get some layers of texture here. And we're also not going to be using, well, that would probably help if I didn't have all 6 layers of napkin here. Let me separate this. We're only going to be using the top layer, but I want to go ahead and cut it right now while I have all of them together so that I can, oh yeah, this is definitely much easier. So again, it's not going to be perfect, but I'm just looking for some texture. You could also decoupage edge this. You could also cut around it. I'm going to figure out how big. So it's going to be a little bit smaller, that's what I'm looking for. Now on this particular napkin, there is like a beige, a really light beige background. And so I'm kind of working within that and using it as my guides, my cutting guides here. Now again, these cut paper way easier than the napkins, but I am liking the different edge that it's going to give me for this piece here. And I may need to come in a little bit more on one side. We'll see how it ends up here. I'm realizing just now, for the last 20 minutes, I might have had an echo. All right. Okay, I think that's going to fit on it really nice. So now we're going to go ahead and separate the plies here because I only want the very top one. And because I cut them with these funky scissors, they might not want to separate it as easy, but there we go. So I'm just going to carefully separate the top because this is the only ply that we want. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a very light coat of the Mod Podge on the burlap here, and I'm going to use the iron-on method to get it on there because I am hoping I'll be able to use the least amount of Mod Podge doing it this way. Now I know this particular design is going to take up the majority of the burlap square, so I'm just going to kind of want to remember to eyeball here that I need to leave a couple rows on each side. So I'm just going to come in here and paint the couple rows on each side. Probably should have picked a bigger brush. Because basically this is all, we're going to want all of this dry before we try and stick the napkin on there. Ooh, my fan is blowing the napkin right on there already, which we are not ready for. Add some more here. Now the reason I'm not just plopping the Mod Podge onto the burlap is because it does have holes, and so there would be a whole chunk that's going to go right through. Not really what I'm looking for. We need it all covered, but we don't need like a big blob. Right, we've got about half of it right now. So I'm just gonna keep working in. So you can see it's coming through, which is because we're using the burlap. So just keep hitting it where we need to hit it to make sure that we have Pugsley, that we have all covered. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and hit it with the heat gun. Pugsley! Because it's going to need to be dry for us to do the next step. A lot of this project is going to be, I'm going to get this Mod Podge cleaned up before it dries on my mat and causes all kinds of problems later. Especially since we'll be ironing, I don't want that to come back up on me. So this project has a lot of paint and dry, paint and dry, paint and dry. And it's okay that the other side looks like this because this is going to be the outside of the pocket and we're going to have the design on it. So you're not going to see the inside. Little blob right there. And it's almost dry here. Okay. So we're also going to want to have some parchment paper since we are using the iron-on method. So I'm going to do the parchment paper, I'm going to do it underneath it and I'm going to do it over it because I don't want this Mod Podge that is on my mat to come back up through the design. So what we're going to do is get our design here where we want it. Going to cover over it. Going to turn my iron back on because while we were doing all the painting and everything, it decided to shut off. So hopefully that doesn't take too long. But the next step is we're going to go ahead and iron this on. So as soon as that is ready, all right, so we're just going to take our iron And we're going to iron this into the burlap. Right, I'm just going to see how it's going in there. Oh, it's going in there very nicely. Just a little higher so I make sure I get the edges. And then we just want to make sure that we get it all the way on there. So from there, you can see, I'll go ahead and peel this off, which is why I wanted to make sure we had it underneath it, because it is going to push some moisture out of that. Then we get a very nice pocket, front of our pocket that's on there. And I just love how that looks already. Super cute. Okay, so now that we have our iron on ready, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put our pocket onto the cutting board. Get these out of the way real quick. Okay, so I am going to leave my pocket a little bit open because I want to be able to stick some florals and stuff in here. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that when we glue it, it has a little bit of a give in there, because otherwise you're not going to be able to put anything. It's going to be really tight to put something in there. So I'm going to just flip this up and I'm going to apply the glue right to the bottom. I'll do the bottom first. Now keep in mind that this is burlap, and so your hot glue can come through the burlap and burn you, so just be careful when you're tacking that down. Okay, and then when I do this part, I just want to make sure that I come in a little bit on the sides so that my pocket has a little pouch. You can see that you can stick something in there. So I'm not going to just glue it down flat. I'm going to come in just a little bit on the sides when I push it down. So keep that in mind as you're attaching. Now, if you didn't want to use the burlap as a pocket and you wanted to just use it as a flat design, you totally could do that too. All right, so I'm just going to burn myself. I'm just going to come in just a little bit. Got myself with the hot glue gun there. That's why I usually use the precision transfer tool. Ooh, instant blister. Okay. It's probably going to hurt later. All right, we're going to come back in. And I'm going to be a little more careful this time. Through and just making sure that I'm bringing it in a little bit there. Now, if you're not liking it, well, it's still a little bit warm, you can adjust it a little bit there. Okay. There we go. So you can see we've got our pocket that has a little bit of give in there so we can stick something in there. Perfect. Okay, the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to do the bow at the top. So I'm going to put this over to the side. Now you could, if you wanted to, you could just stick your snowflake in there like so if you wanted to. I think I'm actually going to use the snowflake for something else, so I am going to put it aside, but let's work on the bow for a moment. All right, I've got my mini bow dab right here. Now the first thing that I'm going to want to do is get my anchor string in there, because otherwise I won't have anything to hold the bow together. Okay, so with this bow, you can tell on the inside it's white. So if we're going to do any type of, well, for any type of bow that we're going to want to do, we're going to want to twist the ribbons, because otherwise when we bend it over, that white part's going to show, and we don't want that. All right, so I'm just flipping it back and forth. All right, and we are building it upside down, so the front is actually on the bottom. So with that in mind, I do need to flip these so that when I pull it out, the correct side of the ribbon is showing on the front. All right, so I'm going to tie it once. I'm going to come back through here and see what we have here. So in this one, some of my bow loops are not even, so I'm just going to kind of mess with them. So here's one option that we have. I do feel like it needs a little something in the middle here. Let me see what all I have. Oh, okay. I think I do have a little something. All right. All right. So you could tie it and then tie it around the actual handle of the cutting board. I'm probably just going to, you know what? I'm going to tie it and I'm going to glue it. I am going to tie it. I just have a feeling that it's not going to stay very well with just gluing on its own. All right, so I'm going to tie it and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to tack it with some glue as well. And then of course we're going to want to fluff it all up. Now I am going to want to cut the, I say fluff it and then I flipped it over to cut the strings, but I put my scissors away too soon here. I'm going to go ahead and cut these. And then I'm going to come through here, and this was actually from something else, and so it has all these little strings. It's supposed to have little bells on it. If you got our ornament maker kits, then you might recognize this because this was one of the bows that was in there, and it comes with little jingle bells on it. But this one, all the little jingle bells fell off. But you know me, I'm not going to let anything go to waste, so I saved it because I was like, I'll use this for something, and here it is. All right, so I'm just going to put that right in the middle there. I tell you, I'm just getting myself with the hot glue gun today. All right, so now we've added that little bit of extra bling. And the next thing that we're going to want to do, and I'm going to need my good scissors for this, not my little emergency scissors. I don't know why I keep putting the scissors away because I keep needing them. But then we're going to want to go through here and cut our tails. That one, and I'm going to cut that one just where it overlaps just a little bit. And then there we have our sweet little cutting board pocket. And then what I envision for this little pocket, I don't think this is the right piece, but I'm going to get some flat ones, but you could stick, like I said, I have some flat ones I'm going to stick in there. I don't have any flat ones to demonstrate it right now. These are all pigs, they're all fat. But I have some flat ones we're going to stick in there, and then we can actually just hang this by the actual hole for the wall, or you could lean it up against something as well. Now, the other thing that we can do that I didn't do, but if you wanted to antique this up a little bit, you could. I had it out and then I put it back. Let me grab. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay, grab my little antiquing. If you wanted it to look a little bit more antiqued, you can come in here and just hit it a little bit, which I did do on the first one. And I actually would do it before I put the pocket down, but since I'm just looking at it now, and you don't want to work it too much, and it is actually working better now that the paint's pretty dry than the other one. But that will come in and age it a little bit so that it doesn't look as new if you want more of an aged look. So you could hit it with that just like that. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one back on so you can see the cutting board project. So again, the back is unfinished. You could go through and finish it should you want. Which I would if I was reselling. I'd probably go ahead and do the back, the one solid of the green if I was going to do this one. But that is our cutting board project for this month. Make sure that if you are sharing your project on social media, you tag at Christian Craft Paper so we can see it. Definitely post in the member group as well, because I love being able to share those with other people outside the group and then also other members so that you can inspire them as to what they can do with their cutting board. But that's it for this month, and until next month, happy crafting!